are thankful that we can find life in Jesus. And when we find life in Him, He said it'll be life more abundantly. It'll be a good life. Sometimes people try to present it as being something different than that, but we're thankful for the good life that we have in Jesus. Let's turn to Ecclesiastes, the second chapter tonight. Ecclesiastes chapter 2. Ecclesiastes chapter 2, we'll begin at verse 24. There is nothing better for a man than that he should eat and drink, and that he should make his soul enjoy good in his labor. This also I saw that it was from the hand of God. For who can eat, or who else can hasten hereunto more than I? For God giveth to a man that is good in His sight, wisdom and knowledge and joy. But to the sinner He giveth travail, to gather and to heap up, that he may give to him that is good before God. This also is vanity and vexation of spirit. Now tonight, as we continue looking at this book of Ecclesiastes, it's going to talk about some things that God does. And here he says it's good, nothing better than a man should eat and drink and make his soul enjoy good in his labor. You know, oftentimes we maybe view work as something to be endured. But you know, you can enjoy it. In fact, we'd say this, that many times as people go about their life, they miss out because they seem to be intent on making life's labor into drudgery. Well, it don't have to be. You can find things there to enjoy. You can find a way to be happy, even as you work hard. And I'd say this: sometimes it'd be good for some if they could find out that you know there is a satisfaction in work. Sometimes children grow up and they think the only thing there is in life is play. Well, it might be interesting to play, but there's a satisfaction in work. You can come home and feel good about a job well done. Now, I'll say this: some work sometimes it don't seem like you accomplish much, and it's a little harder to find satisfaction when it seems like you're not getting much done. But we should, when we do life's work, we should seek to find joy in it. You know, oftentimes the sad part is people go through life unhappy because they don't bother to find the joy in their work. The good part. Now, I realize anything someone particularly will pay you to do, there's probably something about it. There's a reason why they'll pay you to do it. And it really boils down to this: that they are either unable or unwilling to do it themselves. And you say, well, what do you mean? Well, you know, there's some things I don't enjoy doing, and if I can afford it, I'll hire somebody else to do it. Plumbing being one of those things. I don't like to do plumbing, but I do it sometimes. But I'd gladly pay someone to do it if I can afford it. Because I really don't like it. But then there's things that you're unable to do. Either you don't know how, or you know, a lot of businesses, they hire people to do it because the owner can't do that many things himself. He's unable. But just because that is what paying work, you might say, it's what someone else is either unable or unwilling to do, doesn't mean we have to find drudgery in it. We have to look for all the bad things and be unhappy all the time. We can do that work and still enjoy our life. And we think about it as far as that's concerned. You know, we talk about going to work, and you say, well, that's good for the men. But, you know, the ladies can enjoy their work too. I'd say this, sometimes people look on motherhood as being drudgery. And you can make it that. You can make it such that looking after those children is just a real trial to you. But you know, you can enjoy them too. They don't have to be a trial all the time. We can raise them correctly and teach them how to behave and such as that. And mothers can play with them. Fathers can play with them. You can enjoy your children. You don't have to view it as, oh, they're the trial of my life. Now, I know the world does sometimes because they want what they want. And the child sometimes causes them to have to do what the child wants or needs. But we should enjoy those things, and I think that's part of what he's trying to get across here is there's many things that life gives to us, and we can choose to make drudgery out of it, or we can enjoy it. And through God, I believe He would have us to enjoy it. He wouldn't have us to go about life trying to find the unbearable part in everything that we go through. Now he says here as well, he says, God giveth to a man that is good in his sight wisdom and knowledge and joy. So if you walk with God, there's some of that there for you. Wisdom and knowledge and joy. You can talk to God about your troubles, and then you can have joy when He helps you to understand what it is you need to do and how you need to do it. So God can give those things to those that are good in His sight. And we know that if we're good in His sight, it's because He's made us what we are. We're not saying that people should get this uplifted opinion of themselves, but God can turn our life around and make it such that we live our life to please Him, that we live our life to do good in His sight. And when we do, the benefit for us is wisdom and knowledge and joy. He says, but to the sinner He giveth travail, to gather and to heap up, that He can give to him that's good. You know, we watch people and they spend their life striving after power, after position, after wealth. And as he says here, when it's all said and done, you can't take it with you. You can't take it with you. Now, I don't believe that he's trying to say that you need to be broke all the time, but the sinner, that's his travail. Always working to get ahead, and seemingly always getting further behind. Well, we don't have to work to get ahead. We just have to work to submit ourselves to God and to enjoy the life that He's given us. And if we'll do that, we won't have to go through this travail, this vanity, and this vexation of spirit of just trying to gather and to heap up and gather and heap up. And you know, people gather up stuff, and then they, if you read the whole book, somewhere in there it says, men gather this stuff all up, and then all they can do is just sit and look at it. You know, it might be good to get your bank statement and look at it and go, wow, it's not in red. But how much joy are you going to get looking at that bank statement and going, wow, it's more than last month? Okay. Particularly if you've sacrificed your family, if you've sacrificed life's happiness. Now, I look back and I'll tell you this. I don't think I've been guilty of working too little. Maybe too much. Now, as a rule, I think about the society we're in, and sometimes people hurry to get in line for that overtime and just work, and they're heaping up. But they're not heaping up happiness. Their family's falling apart. Oftentimes they don't hardly know them. And I say that through recognition. I've in my lifetime worked a lot of overtime, but I'll tell you, I didn't too much run and get in line for it. It kind of came and found me. And I was handed this, you need to get this done. And, well, I had to get it done. But we want you to see that men oftentimes did do that. There's overtime, I'll do it. If I have to, I guess I will. You say, why? Because I know there's more in life than just heaping things up. There's more in life than just following the things that we can have and hold. And I'm not naive. I mean, I've lived my life, and as I started out in life, I could look around, and people started about the same time I did, and they had nicer cars and nicer houses. And the devil might say, well, if you didn't have so many kids. Well, just enjoy the kids. They're better than cars. You say, what? One thing, they'll take care of you when you're old. Maybe. I don't think cars will. Stop and think about it. People were heaping up those things, but if your family is just being thrown to the wind, what have you got? God gives to His people wisdom and knowledge and joy. We're thankful He gives us that rather than just try to heap up and gather and join the rat race and the run to try to get ahead. Many people, their life, they've got things, but they don't have happiness because they haven't found out how to walk with God. If we go to the 5th chapter of Ecclesiastes, chapter 5, beginning at verse 18, it says, Behold, that which I have seen. It is good and comely for one to eat and to drink, and to enjoy the good of all his labor that he taketh under the sun all the days of his life, which God giveth him, for it is his portion. Every man also to whom God hath given riches and wealth, and hath given him power to eat thereof, and to take his portion, and to rejoice in his labor, this is the gift of God. For he shall not much remember the days of his life, because God answereth him in the joy of his heart. Now he says it's good and comely for one to eat and drink and enjoy the good of all of his labor that he takes under the sun all the days of his life. It's good and comely to enjoy life. Some people would say, well, I thought you were about seeing to it we didn't. No. The world has that idea sometimes that people that preach the gospel and tell them about things that are right and good, they get the idea that we're trying to see to it they don't enjoy life. We're really trying to see to it that they do. See to it that they go about life in such a way that they don't destroy themselves. Go about life in such a way that they find the good things instead of the bad. But he says it's comely to enjoy life, to enjoy that which God has given us. He says every man for which God's given riches and wealth. And we say, well, none of them here. No, God's given us things. God's given us things. And if we'd really get things in perspective, we'd find out God has given us riches and wealth. We've got plenty sufficient. Say, well, my bills are coming due, and I'm figuring to figure out how to pay them. Well, if you've got enough to pay them, you've got sufficient. And if not, I believe God can help you get them paid. But God does give us things. But here's the part that a lot of people miss out on. It's great to have riches and wealth, but if you can't enjoy it, it's not. He says, He giveth him power to eat thereof. In other words, power to put it to use, to something that provides good to his life. Because a lot of times people don't. They consume, maybe, but they just don't find real joy in it. Say, well, man, after I work so hard, it's hard to spend that money. Well, I worked hard to achieve something, not just to stick it in the bank. I mean, I was trying to achieve something when I worked hard, not just to have money in the bank, and yet we know that it doesn't hurt to lay up some for that rainy day. But he says it's an evil when people has wealth and riches and honor. Has what it would seemingly all he would desire, but he can't eat thereof. Can't enjoy it. We think about the story. I think it was, some of these billionaires. I think Paul Getty maybe. He got down to the end of his life. He was living on baby food. It'd be nice to eat something besides baby food. Now it keeps the babies going, but it doesn't much appeal to me. I've tested a little bit. You feed that baby and you go, it's hard for me to tell them it's good. But what? He had wealth, great wealth, but he couldn't really eat thereof. He couldn't really enjoy it. Someone asked one of the rich fellas about it, and they asked him, well, how much is enough? And he said, $1 more. What? He always wanted more. Always wanted more. Here he was sitting on more than he could spend in a lifetime. To his own benefit, and still wanting more. That's the sore travail of the sinner. Amen. But God He gives us our portion to be able to take what He's given to us and enjoy it. Be able to look around and the Apostle Paul in his writings, he said, godliness with contentment is great gain. When you finally come to the point that you can look around and say, well, God gave me enough that I can enjoy my life, you've really found the benefit then. He says, for he shall not much remember the days of his life, because God answers him in the joy of his heart. When you're able to enjoy the things that God's blessed you with, you won't spend all your time remembering the troubles that you've had. Experience any times of difficulty. I'll say this, in the times of difficulty, sometimes I found just as much encouragement and joy there as I have in the times of seeming prosperity. But what I have found is that God has made it possible for me to enjoy my life, and because of the joy I have, I don't dwell on those things. I don't live my life, woe is me, I've got this problem, and just spend time there. Well, God didn't intend for us to spend time there. Woe is me, I've got problems. You ever met someone like that? You ever met someone that in their eyes the world was always on the verge of a disaster? The next disaster is just right around the corner. I don't believe God intended for our life to be that. I believe He intends for us to enjoy it. Disaster comes, I believe He can take us through it. That's what faith does for us. It helps us to realize that if disaster comes, I can come through by God's help. But God answers in the joy of our heart. God gives us enjoyment. Enjoyment. Sometimes people might look on and say, man, you folks are just a bunch of old common folks. How can you enjoy yourself so? Well, we're walking with God. And He answers us with joy in the heart. We're thankful for that joy that we can have as we walk with God. We take the things that He gives us and we just enjoy it. It might be no more than a cold glass of water. Snow on a hot summer day, it's pretty enjoyable. I believe He gives us plenty to eat from the look of us. He gives us plenty to eat, and we're able to eat it and enjoy it. You know, some people, I guess, they just have to force it down. Most of what I eat, I enjoy it. Well, God's blessed me with it, and I can. And I believe He intends for us to be able to eat our meat with quietness and enjoy it. We go to the 9th chapter. In chapter 9, beginning at verse 7, it says, Go thy way, eat thy bread with joy, and drink thy wine with a merry heart, for God now accepteth thy works. Let thy garments be always white, and let thy head lack no ointment. Live joyfully with the wife whom thou lovest all the days of the life of thy vanity, which He hath given thee under the sun, all the days of thy vanity. For that is thy portion in this life, and in thy labor which thou takest under the sun. Whatsoever thy hand findeth to do, do it with thy might, for there is no work, nor device, nor knowledge, nor wisdom in the grave, whither thou goest. Now here he says, go your way. Eat your bread with joy and have a merry heart. And here's really, I think, where we need to focus. For God now accepteth thy works. When you're pleasing in the sight of God, you can enjoy things. When you're pleasing in His sight, when the things that you do, you don't have a lot of guilt hanging on your conscience, when you don't have a lot of condemnation riding on your back, you can enjoy your life. And yet many people go on in their sins and they try to find a little pleasure in this sinful thing and that sinful thing, and they just don't seem like they ever quite find it. Well, part of it is they haven't got things reconciled yet between them and God. That's where we need to focus our attention, is that God accepteth thy works. Now you think about the picture of Cain and Abel. Cain was very unhappy because God wasn't accepting what he was doing. Abel found the blessing of God and Cain slew him for it. And certainly life sometimes turns out that way. You live and you do what's right, and we wouldn't try to present the idea that as you live and do what's right, at all times and all places, is everybody going to smile on you? Because if you're enjoying life, sometimes the world will look on and envy other things. But the real place of happiness is when God accepts your works. When things are right in His eyes. So let your garments be white. And we know we could look at it from the standpoint of garments being white, just clean and nice, but I believe he also is referring with the thought of keeping things right. Wearing that robe of righteousness. Keeping God's Spirit, God's blessing upon your life. It says, live joyfully with your wife. You know, it's a wonderful thing when you really can go about life that way. We look at the world we're in today, and I guess there's as many people anymore in this country that's unmarried as are. And that doesn't mean there's as many that's never been married as are. A lot of marriages have fallen apart. But really, I believe God intended, when He created Eve and put Adam and Eve together, He intended for it to be a blessing to Adam. He intended for it to be a good thing. And while maybe some would somehow try to teach celibacy and other things, we'd say this: we believe marriage is a good thing when you go at it God's way. I believe God intended for us to be able to marry, to live together as husband and wife, and it be a joyful thing. Now, sad to say, people go about their life, and a lot of times it don't turn out quite that way. I saw an article this week, and the title of the article was "Till Death Do Us Part." Well, that's how a lot of marriages end. Till death do us part. It wasn't the way that they vowed it, but that's how they turned out. Till death do us part. Why? Well, people get married and they've got all these things that they want and all these things they're chasing, instead of just enjoying each other. Well, I've got to have this and I've got to have that. And the deeper the debt gets, the more the fussing starts. Pretty soon, they're not living joyfully together anymore. Well, God's will is for us to live joyfully together. Marry someone that's living for God. Marry someone that their works are accepted by God and your works are accepted by God. And I believe your works will just flow together. And you'll enjoy the blessing that each other can bring in life. So He says, live joyfully with your wife. Just enjoy it. This is thy portion, thy labor, which you take under the sun. And He says, whatsoever thy hand findeth to do it with thy might. As we're living our life for God, our life doesn't have to be just that we hold back. But we put ourselves into that which God has given us to do. We put something into it. He says, do it with your mind. There's no work or device or knowledge or wisdom in the grave whither thou goest. You're going to do something with life. You need to do it while you have life. But you can live life to its fullest and live it for God. We want to see that. You can live life to its fullest. Now that doesn't mean you're going to give your hand to everything that comes along. If there's evil comes along, I don't believe you need to be doing that with your might. If you're focused on keeping your life in tune with God, when God points the way, put yourself into it and give it all you got. Well, Lord, here I am. That's what you want me to do? Well, just help me to give it everything. Help me to put my energy into it. And I believe you put your energy into it and you put that enthusiasm behind it, you can find pleasure in it, even though it might be hard and difficult at times. Well, there's things we do in life. They're not always easy. Raising a family is not always easy, but there can be a blessing in it when you know that you're doing what God would have done. We look at the 3rd chapter of Ecclesiastes. Ecclesiastes, the 3rd chapter, beginning at verse 10. It says, I have seen the travail which God hath given to the sons of men to be exercised in it. He hath made everything beautiful in His time. Also He hath set the world in their hearts, so that no man can find out the work that God maketh from beginning to the end. I know that there is no good in them, but for a man to rejoice and to do good in his life. And also that every man should eat and drink and enjoy the good of all his labor. It is the gift of God. I know that whatsoever God doeth, it shall be forever. Nothing can be put to it, nor anything taken from it. And God doeth it, that men should fear before Him. Now we see God's made everything beautiful in its time. That doesn't mean you can always see the beauty at the time. You know, when you're going through some times and maybe there's some chastening and correction and other things going on, you may not see the beauty at the time. But with God's made everything beautiful in its old time, in its place. And He's done it in such a way that no man can find out the work that God maketh from beginning to end. But you know, we as people sure try. You say, well, we're always trying to figure out exactly what it is God is trying to do. I want to figure it out. What's God doing now? Well, He's not always going to tell you. You're not always going to know. But I believe the more important thing for us to know is that God is still at work. And He's got a good plan. He's got things figured out from beginning to end. He knows what He wants to do. He knows how He wants to do it. And the challenge for us is to find our place in it. Fit in with His plan. It says it's good. There's no good in Him but for a man to rejoice and to do good in his life. And that's really where we just need to fit in at. We need to be happy and just do good. Okay, this is what God wants. I'll just do this. And I'll be happy doing this. And you say, well, it just don't seem like much is being accomplished with me doing what God wants me to do. Well, just be faithful to it. And God understands the overall plan. And I don't believe God is going to measure us by the results, but by our faithfulness. You say what? If the whole world don't turn to Him, He's not going to look at us and say, well, in your day you didn't get enough done. The results should have been better. No, the question is, were you faithful to His plan? Did you do the good that He showed you to do? Were you careful to just live out those things that He showed you? And as He showed you what to do and how to do it, did you do it? And did you do it complaining? Do it with your mind. When you find out what God would have you to do, just do it. And rejoice in it. Be happy. He says it's also that every man should eat and drink and enjoy the good of all of his labor. It's a gift of God. Now here's where our confidence is at. I know that whatsoever God does, it shall be forever. Nothing can be put to it, nor anything taken from it. And God does it that men should fear before Him. And God's in control, and we just need to come to accept that fact. We need to be able to trust in it, to have confidence in it, that what God does, it's going to last. And nothing can be put to it or nothing take from it. You know, men would a lot of times try to add to what God's doing. Well, I think we'd add a little this in, a little that in. Maybe it'd be better. Well, just let God work it out. Because God, what He's building is lasting. And if you let Him build your life, it'll be a life of lasting good. And He does it this way that men should fear before Him. You know, if we could figure everything out, we might look at things differently. I don't know. but God didn't organize it that way. And God organized our life down here to be a walk of faith. And we got to put our trust and our confidence in Him and accept that God knows what He's doing. And our part is just to do what He wants us to do in our portion of the project. He didn't call us to be the CEO. He didn't call us to be the top guy. He just called us to fit in under Him in the place that He put us and be faithful to it. And if we'll do that, God can use our life in the way that He sees best. If we look at the 7th chapter of Ecclesiastes, chapter 7 and verse 29, he says, "Lo, this only have I found, that God hath made man upright, but they have sought out many inventions." You say, well, what's the thought here? Well, you know, God, when He created the world, He created man, He looked on and He said, "It is good." And then we know that mankind fell into sin. And they sought out many inventions. And because mankind fell into sin, there's many things that mankind has suffered down through the ages because of sin. But the God that made man upright is the God that can make man upright once again. And when we turn to God and settle it to go His way, God can give us a good life once again. Yes, we have some, what He calls inventions here to leave behind. Our ideas maybe got to go, but God can give us a good life. We're thankful that God made man upright, and we're thankful that God made a plan to once again make man upright. To put us back upon the path that God would have us to go. We realize that because of sin, people turn aside and they get into many things. But God can bring us back to where we can enjoy life. We can have a good life. We can take these things, these inventions that mankind has sought out, and those things that make his life a vexation and a vanity, and those inventions can put aside, and life can once again be good and happy and enjoyable. We can put those things aside. We don't have to go on in our life just striving to heap up, and we don't have to go on in life doing these other things that the writer here studied out and found out. Every one, he got to the end, it says vanity and vexation of spirit. We don't have to go on with those inventions. Our life once again can be made upright, and we can enjoy it, and we can live to experience God's blessings because we walk with Him. We're walking in His presence. As the songwriter said, all that thrills my heart's Jesus. I can have something that thrills my heart. Even as I go through life's labors, responsibilities, difficulties, troubles, whatever they be, I can enjoy my life because God has once again made it upright and made it to be what He looked upon and He said, it's good. Well, God has a good life for His people. We look at the 8th chapter of Ecclesiastes. And beginning at verse 11. It says, because sentence against an evil work is not executed speedily, therefore the heart of the sons of men is fully set in them to do evil. Though a sinner do evil 100 times, and his days be prolonged, Yet surely I know that it shall be well with them that fear God, which fear before Him. But it shall not be well with the wicked, neither shall he prolong his days, which are as a shadow, because he feareth not before God. Now this kind of sums it up in a sense. Oftentimes people look on and they think, well, so much is going on in the world and people do wrong and they just seem like they get by with it. And we'd say this, the picture the devil would give folks of life is that folks go down the road of sin and life just goes on and it's all right. But that's not what the writer here found as he began to observe life. He found out that life wasn't all right as people went on in sin. He found out it didn't turn out so good. Oh, on one level he could kind of look on it and say, well, it seems like they're getting by, and he says the sinner might do evil 100 times. And he's still living. You know, it maybe looks like he got by with it. But he said, you know what, I started watching that, and I came to this conclusion. I know it'll be well with them that fear God. Those that walk with God, I know it'll still be well with them. I know it'll turn out good for them. Sometimes people, as they grow up, they're influenced by sinners and say, well, I watch good old Uncle so-and-so, and looks like his life is turning out all right, and he didn't bother with taking time for God. Well, it's not over yet. Yeah, maybe he's got things. See, that's the thing. You can look on and say, well, they got plenty of things. Look at all the things they got. Got this big fancy house and this nice fancy car. Are they living an abundant life? What do you mean? Well, you know, I've watched people that had big fancy houses, but there wasn't much living going on there. I knew someone that they kind of moved up into management in IBM. They had this big fancy house, about 5,000 square feet, for two people. And I don't know if they ever found each other in there. It's kind of, at times, one in one end and one in the other. But it's a good investment. But there wasn't much living going on there. They weren't having an abundant life. Say, well, how do you know? Well, one of them, apparently it was so unpleasant, they decided to end it. Big fancy house. Lots of money. But they weren't happy. What you can do wrong. You can do wrong 100 times. And you might prolong your life. And you might be able to go in public and put on a smile. And you might be able to go party with the world a little bit. And have a short seeming good time. But the writer here said, when I finally got done looking it over, in spite of all of that picture that the devil might paint, he said, I know it'll still be good with them that walk with God. I know they're the ones that really got it good. And that's really how I feel about it. The ones that walk with God are the ones that really got it good. The devil might throw that up to you. And I know as people start out in life and they're young and they look around and they go, wow, they got this and they got that. And, you know, well, when I started my life, I think got married, I started with a negative net worth. You say, really? Yeah. When I got married, as best I recall, I bought most of my furniture at garage sales and stuff. And we really didn't have enough to furnish the whole house, I don't think. It seemed like we were loaned some things so we could get started. And I owned this car that really the bank owned it. I just was paying them for it. And if I think if you added it up, I was probably in the hole. And start out with a bunch of stuff. And you could look around and go, oh, if I follow this one, I'll have a bunch of stuff. But that don't mean I'll be happy. I looked around and I had to come to the conclusion. I know them that fear God, it'll be well with them. So I started life out and went that way. I'm going to live for God. I'm going to walk with Him. And I look back and I've been through some places. I'm not here to tell anybody that we never hit any bumps in the road. I still believe that the writer here got it right. Those that walk with God, it'll be well with them. They fear God. But the wicked, even though it seems like He prolongs His days, He says they are as a shadow. Life's still going to pass. And sad to say, so many get to the end, and it's bitter and sad. Because they didn't walk with God. It didn't go well with them. They thought that they could maybe get by with this and get by with that. And it seemed like they were getting by, but really it was taking its toll. It was exacting its price. There were things that were kind of beginning to heap up and build up that made life bitter and sad. All of us are going through life. Our days are going to pass. As we have started, our life is going forward. Whether we want it to go at that rate of speed or not, it's going. We need to choose God. We need to choose God. I think as you consider the Scriptures here, I believe the writer was trying to make this point. If you'll choose God, you'll live your life God's way, you'll have a good life. Oh, it won't always be with no work and riches piled on and all this, but it'll be a good life because God has designed it to where we can go about it and we can get the good out of it. But really the message we need to see and we need to get, if you want a good life, Christ said, I came that they might have life and they might have it more abundantly. Now I believe that's the life that a child of God enjoys tonight. I believe that. And I believe that's what this writer was trying to kind of bring out. He was trying to point out the pitfalls. You can go at life this way and it's going to turn out sad and bitter. You can go at it this way, it's going to turn out sad and bitter. You can go at it this way and it's going to turn out sad and bitter. Or you can turn to God and enjoy it. And tonight we would say to all, turn to God and enjoy it. He has a good life for you. He can supply your needs. He can work out the situations of your life. He can take you down a path that makes your life a blessing to you, and it makes your life a blessing to those about you. God's way is the best way. His life is a good life. If people go on and sin about you and you see them and they try to make it look so glamorous and so wonderful and like it's a life where there's just pleasures, and rest assured they can do evil, even if it be 100 times. Their life will still not turn out good the way life would turn out good if you go God's way. I know that the devil tries to work upon people's minds. I know that he tries to draw people. But as you take the wisdom of this one, and he said he was the wisest that had ever been in Jerusalem at that time, his observation of life was, the good life is living for God. And I'm convinced as I look about and observe life as I have observed it, that he was right. The good life is in living for God, giving Him our heart and our life, letting Him direct our course, and us staying in tune with His will, His way, and His purpose. I'm thankful for that life tonight. We'd say to anyone, if you don't know that life, if you haven't found God, and you haven't found what He can really do to make your life better, we'd say turn to Him tonight. Amen. Give Him your heart. Turn from your sins. Those old things that maybe you've sought out that are wicked and sinful, cast them aside. Be delivered by Jesus Christ, and you too can enjoy God's good life. Well, it is that way. That which we reap will be just like the seed. You want to plant good stuff, so you can reap good stuff. You want to put good things in your life, so you'll have a good life. People go on and sin, and so often I fear sowing with really no thought. No thought. Don't think about how this is going to turn out. Well, we need to think about how it's going to turn out. You're going to enjoy life. You need to think down the road a little ways, and we realize that we don't know what all's down the road, but you know, if you give your heart to God and you line your life up with His plan, you know you're walking with someone that has the roadmap. He has the roadmap, and He can keep you through the pitfalls that lie ahead. We don't want to sow bad seed when God has provided for us lots of good seed that we can sow that gives us a good life.